It's going to be a real conversation, but I don't want this to be about blame, right? I just want it to be about clarity. A lot of the stagnancy that we experience in our personal development comes from just not acknowledging or accepting different truths about ourselves. I don't know if it's innately uh, a woman thing. I don't want to generalize anything.
You've been generalizing from the beginning of this pod, so I try to figure out like
It's gonna be
you might as well continue.
It's going to be a great conversation. I think for us to gain true power, we need to start with leading ourselves, self-leadership, right? Being able to control and hold ourselves accountable for our actions and for what we say and how we respond in different situations. I don't know how far this conversation is getting, but it's a conversation nonetheless. I don't even think I had an idea of like coming to any summit or any climax of this conversation. But I think, these are the type of conversations that I want to bring to the fore, right? This like, I think in a healthy way, right? Again, not putting any blame on anyone, but acknowledging the fact that, just as men can do better, women can do better as well. I think that's the point of the conversation. Hey, what's up? Welcome to the new episode of the Myles podcast. This is Myles Jr. And as always, the vision of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist, always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right? So just want to once again plug our upcoming Explore Africa tour. The tour this year is going to be November 20th through December 1st. We're going to be visiting the country of South Africa and the cities of Johannesburg and Cape Town. We got a fun packed tour. The schedule is going to be great. The tour is kid friendly. You can go to our website. It's exploreafricatour.com. You can look at the itinerary. You can check out all the pricing. We have some pricing plans available that you can take advantage of right now. And just look forward to a fun time, man. I'm excited to be going back to South Africa this year. The first time I'll be traveling with my daughter, so I'm really excited for that, to see her reaction and response to, first of all, this long flight that we have, and then the experience on the actual continent in the country of South Africa. So I'm looking forward to going with my family this year, and I'm welcoming and encouraging you to bring you and your family as well. All right. Okay, so today I want to have an honest conversation, right? I want to have an honest conversation about accountability. Um, you know, it's going to be a real conversation, but I don't want this to be about blame, right? I just want it to be about clarity. So we're not going to be pointing any fingers. It's just for us to just have a open and honest conversation. I'm glad my wife is on this pod with me, because the focus of this pod, at least that the angle that I want to take it from, is really having accountability towards women, right? I think men are always instructed, or expected, I should say, to hold themselves accountable for what we say, what we do, our actions, and whatnot. And that's not saying that women aren't expected to hold themselves accountable, but men are. I think a higher priority, or the higher expectation, is placed on men to be a little more accountable. And I guess I wanted to sort of even the discussion, or even the playing field, when it comes to accountability, and when it relates to women, right? I think it's vital that, and so let me just preface it to say, again, this is not putting out any blame. I understand that this entire conversation is about both men and women, but I want this particular episode just to be a bit more focused on women, right? So I think it's vital that women own different aspects of their lives, right? Their decisions, their voice, their triggers, their healing, their growth, all of these aspects of their lives. I think women need to and should own, right? I think um, a lot of growth and development happens once we own certain things, right? Especially owning our mistakes and owning our flaws, right? We grow a lot from that. I think a lot of the stagnancy that we experience in our personal development comes from just not acknowledging or accepting different truths about ourselves. And I think for us to get past that and to develop into the individual that we should be developing into, or that we want to develop into, it comes with a lot of self-searching, right? It comes with a lot of self-awareness, um, and just like I say, a lot of ownership of who we are, where we came from, owning our decisions, owning the voice that we have, owning things that trigger us or triggered us, owning the fact that we need healing in different areas of our lives, and then owning our growth from it, right? From it all. I think that we live in this culture of deflection, right? Everyone is passing the blame. And I don't know, I guess I understand why and where it comes from. But after a certain age, after a certain level of maturity, I just feel like the passing the buck should stop, right? And you should want to hold yourself accountable for your actions and for everything. I think a lot of people blame their upbringing for different aspects of their lives or their circumstances. A lot of people say, "Man, I am who I am. Accept me for it." I remember being a person stuck in that phase as well. Especially in dealing with like relationships. I was one of those individuals that's like, look, I am who I am. You're either going to love me or hate me, right? But I'm not going to change. And that was the mindset that I had. And I think for me, uh, it took a level of maturity. It took a level of growth for me to get to the point where I realized that, man, holding myself accountable for first of all, my decisions and my actions, and then accepting that, and then wanting to grow from it, right? Wanting to develop into a more matured, a more well-rounded person, I think was important. Um, but this deflection culture that we have, is not anything new, right? This deflection started back in the Bible days. In the good book, we know the story of Adam and Eve, and when Eve was tempted by the serpent and convinced to uh, bite the fruit, and she took the fruit to Adam, and Adam bit the fruit, and then God came and was like, "Hey, Adam, man, what did you do?" And first thing Adam said was, "Yo, is this woman you gave me? It's her fault. She gave me this fruit, and I ate it." And then Eve was like, "Well, it wasn't me. It was this serpent. This serpent, coerced me to eating this fruit." And the deflection game started from then. And I think that's just been a culture that we have been cultivating over the years, and it's almost become a normalcy, right? It's a part of who we are. I think from we're born and we start developing, from a young age. We deflect a lot. It's not my fault. It's my friend's fault. It's not my fault. It's my upbringing or where I came from or the circumstances that I was placed in. And we just deflect. We deflect. And you know, uh, my wife and I have this ongoing joke when it comes to like this deflection, right? And let's just say we do. You'll know it when I say it. So let's say she does something, right? Uh, I don't know, like it doesn't even have to be something serious, just something uh, trivial, and I call her out on it. Um, the first thing she does is try to call me out on the same or a similar situation, right? And the first thing I would say was, the first thing I would say is, don't try to hold my hand, right? And that's how I label the deflective culture, right? Everyone, no one wants to go down by themselves, right? So she is being called out, or she is being, I wouldn't say accused, but I'm identifying, something that she might have done or said or didn't do or didn't say, and I'm like, see, look, look what you did, look what you didn't do, whatever the conversation is. And the first thing she does would be like, well, you didn't do this, or you did this, or whatever, right? I'll be like, why you gotta hold my hand, though? We talking about you. And holding hands is the same as effective culture, right? Like everyone, like, yes, I'm going down, but I'm reaching out and I'm pulling someone else down with me. And it's like we say it in jest, but it is something that I I've been urging for us to like really get through in our relationship and throughout our relationship. And she does it a lot. I think it's something that I don't know if it's innately uh, a woman thing. I don't want to generalize anything.
You've been generalizing from the beginning of this pod, so I try to figure out like
It's gonna be a
might as well continue.
it's gonna be a great conversation. How am I generalizing?
Because you started off by saying women are the ones who don't take accountability, which is
First of all,
D'Angelo. What did he
I
say?
gave a disclaimer. I said this entire conversation is both about men and women, but I want this conversation to focus on women. That's exactly
Okay,
what I
which
said.
means this is about women because you started with your example of Adam and Eve, and then
No. I said both Adam and Eve deflected. You got to
okay,
listen to
but
what
you
I said.
said Adam said it was this woman. Then you was like you making it seem like it was all Eve fault.
No, babe.
That's how
I
you
said,
made it seem.
Adam. I'm reading. This is what the Bible said. It's not my words. Adam said, "This is the woman that you gave me," and then Eve said, "No, it's this serpent." I was just showing the line of deflection that both Adam and Eve did. I never said that.
No, you started this pod by saying it's mainly women
That's
you
not what I
want
said.
to talk about being who
Held
aren't held
accountable.
accountable.
Yes.
That's what you said. But I feel like you even starting wrong because both men and women, everyone, don't take accountability if you ask me. And I find that it can be equal. I don't think it's just a woman thing. So why would you want to point out just women in this pod?
Because I think from a societal perspective, men are held or are expected to be held more accountable, or even are held more accountable than women.
But why do you think that is?
I just think that's how society is.
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's because men are considered the head of the home. Right or wrong?
So that
Exactly.
so that means men should be held more accountable than
They're
women.
held to a higher standard because they are the head. If you're my boss and something goes wrong, they're not gonna check me. They're gonna check you because you are the head of the company.
So what about when you're the head of the company? That's my point. Like,
Then I get checked.
do you though?
Yes.
Okay.
How many times we have seen women in positions of power?
No, sorry, you get checked, but like, do women say, yes, this was my fault? This was okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In the grand scheme of things, you think that happens across the board?
Yes.
You think it happens, say, at an equal ratio?
If you are a woman in a position of power, yes. And you actually get treated worse because people don't look at women as being as they should be in those positions already. We are already operating from a deficit. So we have more to prove.
What about, okay, so I'm not disagreeing with you, right? I'm not saying that the focus is entirely on women, or for lack of a better term, I'm not saying the blame is on women. Okay. What I am saying is, yes, both men and women need to be held accountable and should hold themselves accountable. But what I am saying is that I think men hold themselves just, I don't want to speak in general terms, but I'm just saying from a societal standpoint, women don't generally hold themselves accountable in most situations. It's always,
I think that's unfair to say.
Okay, so we're in this Me Too culture, right? And
you don't even go down.
I'm just trying to draw.
You won't go down.
Draw a scenario.
That's not a good scenario.
I really don't want to open this can of worms, but I'm just saying, like, women are able to cast blame, right? Or accusations, let's just call it, on men in different situations, right? Some of them are true. I'm not disputing that like most of these cases aren't true, but a lot of it is are lies and not based on truth, or not based on facts, or not based on the actual circumstances that happen. And generally men are, put through the ringer because just of the accusation. And then when if something is if something turns out to be false, or it's found out that this accusation that was brought up is a lie, there's no consequences. There's nothing that follows that. And
Well,
we've
let's
seen
say
this trend continue.
we can't use that example to say that's why women aren't accountable. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like that is a special case because even in those situations, even women say that person should be found accountable. Like,
But
just
it doesn't. But it doesn't happen, and that's my point.
okay, but it's not women's fault that it doesn't happen.
Whose fault is it?
My thing is
Who's no?
if
That's
I
so.
if
That's
I accuse
exactly.
you of something, if I accuse you of something
Mhm.
in a court of law
Mhm.
and it turns out not to be true, the court of law should hold you accountable.
Not you holding yourself accountable.
Why would I hold myself
Because you
accountable?
knew because you knew you were lying.
No,
from
why
the
would I
jump.
hold myself accountable when I already accusing you of doing something I know you haven't done? That
Right.
already makes me a person of no integrity. So if I
Right.
don't have integrity, I ain't not gonna have accountability.
But if it's now brought to light that okay, this wasn't true, you don't think you should take responsibility and be like, yo, I lied. I accept any consequence that comes along with this.
Okay, yes, they should, but they're not a person of integrity. Same example.
Mhm.
The other day we watched ASAP's case. Relly, we haven't seen a publication from Relly saying I'm accountable, I'm taking the blame, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So what's the difference?
There's no difference. I'm just saying, how many
Exactly.
times does that happen with a man making accusations and the accusations turning out not to be true than for a female? You see that?
We
See
don't
that face?
know, but my thing is you can't make generalizations.
I'm not generalizing truths.
You're saying
I
women
said
don't take accountability. Maybe you should bring your friends on this podcast instead of me, because
you biased.
no, I'm not. I just feel like
Because I literally opened this pod and saying I'm not I am accepting and I'm aware that both men and women need to be held accountable and need to take accountability on themselves.
But
But
you
I
said,
want this
but you
pod
said
to focus on women. Yes,
But why? Why not focus on everyone if accountability is the issue?
because I we've seen more cases than not where women aren't held to the same accountability standpoint as
We
men.
think the same as men.
We-
We have a whole leader of a nation who isn't being held accountable. If it was a woman, what would happen, you think?
First of all, that's not a male and female issue. That's a different issue. No, it isn't.
Women,
No, it
you
isn't.
will not
Because
vote for a woman because you feel a woman isn't.
no, I'm
this or
talking
woman
about
isn't that.
I'm talking about holding that individual accountable, right? Because if it was number 44, it would have been a different. He wouldn't have been able to do.
43.
It would have been the same.
Exactly. So my thing is, it's still.
That's what.
Yes, but it would have been okay. Let's imagine how they treated the woman with the pants.
Right.
Exactly. She had the look. Right? Why are you laughing?
Because you weren't even confident that she was the right person for the job.
It doesn't matter what I think.
Now it don't matter.
No, it doesn't matter what I think. But what I'm saying is, it is still you're not going to hold a woman and a man the same to the same accountability.
I'm not talking. So what I'm not doing is I'm not talking about society holding men or women accountable. We're talking about self accountability.
But I don't agree. I still don't agree with you because
You don't.
Let's just take a personal issue.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm not going to speak about it, we've seen. Take me versus someone else that you know who has the same issue as me as a man, right? You know what I'm talking about?
No idea.
Okay. I can take situations and say, I can hold myself accountable. I can move past childhood trauma. I can do this. I can do that.
Yep.
How many women in the same space have done the same thing, and the men are still stagnated, living in the past. Like,
But
and that is not just my situation. That's many other situations.
yeah, but I think you're but you're just looking at that situation as a as as uh as a poster to say, hey, women can do this more better than men, or we do this on a large scale. I just don't think that the statistics show or prove that that's true. Now we want to talk. We want to talk statistics. But see me the problem I have, not the problem, but the challenge is you and I have this conversation offline a whole lot,
No, I just
and you know we both agree to a certain extent that accountability isn't even when it comes to men and women.
I honestly think women.
Self accountability is what I'm saying.
I think women take more accountability than men. To be honest, that's just how I feel, and it's not because I am a woman.
I think it's because you're a woman.
Look at all of the instances in. Look at all of the instances in our lives, situations that we go through, our friends go through. Women have always held themselves more accountable.
You're talking in code, so I don't know what you're referring to. And if we don't want to bring the situations up, you can't. Yeah, like it's unfair.
I cannot.
It's unfair to say
You
that.
know what I'm talking
I have.
about.
I honestly, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Exactly.
She just mouthed to me what she was talking about. But again, you're singling these one offs and
That
making
is
it like, hey, this is a situation where a man isn't holding himself accountable like a woman. I'm not saying that men don't hold themselves accountable. Like,
okay.
don't
I
take
can
don't
give you a situation where I
Mhm.
can call a name. Just take for instance.
Don't call no names though.
But it's a celebrity.
Okay.
Um, Anthony Edwards. This young man has had what 5 children or 4 children, a lot of kids in the space of he's had them.
Is
He's
this
had
accurate though?
it is
Is this proven? Is it
the
5?
lady not 5, whatever.
We don't know what the number. We know maybe about 1 or 2
No,
for
no,
sure.
he got more than 1 or 2. But in the instance, he had a baby with someone. He did. She didn't want to. He didn't want to get. She didn't want to get rid of it. He did. Now he's saying, "I don't want nothing to do with that child." You're not holding yourself accountable because your actions led you to the situation you're in, right or wrong.
Right.
And how many more cases of that we have seen from men? You can't expect to do things. There's an end result, and you not be accountable to that fact.
Once again, I am not saying that men don't hold themselves accountable. Like you keep you hovering on this fact that I'm picking on women. I started off by saying like today is just a real conversation. I No, but I'm giving these disclaimers, right? I'm saying this is not a conversation about blame. This is just a conversation about clarity, right? I'm just trying to bring this conversation to the surface and just have a discussion about it. I'm not even saying you're wrong and I'm right, or I'm right and you're wrong. This is just having an open conversation.
D'Angelo, when this conversation started, what was your opinion of what he would be talking about?
I'm not disputing that.
But you're saying one of me equal.
It's a deep conversation now. Let's keep it going.
And this is why I wanted to have this conversation, and I wanted my wife to be a part of this conversation. But I don't know if this conversation could get anywhere because she is, obviously she's a woman and she feels very passionately towards women, right? To almost
Won't say to a fault.
not to I mean you bias though, right? I don't think my bias is to the forefront though, because I'm not saying that men don't and women do, or women don't and men do. I'm saying we both do and don't, but I want to focus on women. In a pod a couple of uh, episodes ago, I was talking about fathers, right? And I was talking about men from like the importance of fathers being in home perspective. I did address that, yes, both men and women play a vital role in the rearing of kids or whatever, but a father is that much important. And I wanted to focus on men in that particular episode, right? Why didn't you say, oh, we need to focus on women too, because women are important too? Like what's wrong with me focusing on one aspect of a conversation just to drive a point?
Men are the ones that don't take accountability.
So and this is something else that my wife and I deal with, right? So and this is I think this happens. This is just the break. I wouldn't say the break. The challenge in communication when it comes to men and women, right? So women don't listen with their ears. They listen with their emotions and their feelings and their hearts, right? So a lot of the times when something is said, women don't hear it, they feel it. I'll case in point. So Sharice and I were having a conversation, and I literally said I said something in this tone of voice, right? But what I said was very abrupt. I think I said something along the lines of um, I don't even remember what I said, but I just knew that I wasn't at a high tone. I wasn't like it wasn't an argument or disagreement. We were having a conversation, and I just asked a question, and I asked a question in this tone. But the I think the issue rose where the question that I asked was uh the way that she perceived it was I was screaming at her, right? And the first thing she said was, "Don't shout at me." And like that, like sometimes, like when me and my wife having these type of conversations, and she responds to something that I say, like I literally have to sit down and be like, okay, let's just replay what happened just now because you're saying I said XYZ when I literally said like these are the exact words that I use, right? And I noticed this with her obviously because she and I have conversations on a daily basis, right? And she's just a part of like my daily routines and stuff. But when stuff like that happens, it just reminds me of how different men and women communicate, right? Men, we're like very logical, rational uh, creatures, and we communicate very logically and rationally for the most part. Again, not generalizing everything because there are some men who may communicate a bit more emotionally than others. But women are emotional communicators, so they feel what is said, or they feel, or they say what they feel, right? And I think that can cause challenges in relationships because a lot of times men don't feel heard because women don't hear men; they feel men, right? And women don't feel felt because men don't feel women; they hear women. And I think that's a principle that we need to understand, right? So that we can, first of all, relate to, right? Accept the fact that, okay, we're having a miscommunication. And I know why, because I'm saying something to you, but you're feeling what I say. I need to figure out a different way to say this so that it feels differently to you. And in the same way, women need to understand that, okay, I'm saying what I feel, but it's not the right words because it's just all feeling. I need to find words that I can use that could communicate this feeling that I have maybe a little better so that this man could understand, right? Um, so a lot of the times when Sharice and I are talking, like that's the biggest challenge that we have in aspects of our relationship because we communicate innately, we communicate just on different levels, and I know that. I think I've had a lot of teachers and read a lot of books and information on the difference in communication that I think both she and I like acknowledges it and recognize it. But and even though we have these conversations, and I think sometimes she's aware of the fact that she feels more than she hears, um, I still don't think you agree with the fact that that's how different we communicate. Or do you like do you think that how I described that just now is accurate?
I
Do
think
you
so.
think like so? Do you remember the conversation I was talking about just now where I said something and you was like, "Don't shout at me"? It's, it's been it's been many that you have misinterpreted because you feel what it said, and
The same can be said for you because I'm how I speak can be perceived as rowing. And so you would say, why you rowing me?
you used to be
No, I don't.
used to be definitely used to
I'm
be right.
passionate.
And see, this is again you don't even hear the fact that you're loud because it's a feeling.
No, because that's how I grew up loud.
But it's a feeling to you. It's not
Yeah.
like
It's just to
it's
me, it's
not
innate. It's like There's always beef.
Right. But then when I do it, I screaming at her or I shouting at her, right? Then
Because that's not how you speak.
so you always rouse what you said. That's what you said? You
They did.
you always rouse.
No, but I understand what you're coming.
Do you feel like there's more to life than what you're experiencing? That deep down you're meant for something greater? It's time to stop wondering and start discovering. At the Monroe Institute of Leadership, we believe every person carries a unique purpose, a calling designed specifically for you. Our transformative courses, Discover Purpose and Unlock Your Potential, are crafted to help you uncover that purpose and equip you with the tools to step confidently into your destiny. These powerful courses are for leaders, entrepreneurs, students, and visionaries like you. Through proven principles and actionable insights, you will clarify your vision and set bold goals. You will identify your strengths and passions. You will overcome the barriers holding you back, and you will step boldly into your God-given potential. Our expert facilitators draw from timeless and tested principles, blending practical strategies with kingdom truths to empower you to lead a life of purpose, impact, and transformation. The world needs what you have to offer. Don't let another day pass without unlocking the greatness within you. Visit our website, themill.org, and register today. The Monroe Institute of Leadership. Renew your mind and transform a generation. So again, we kind of venturing off of the topic, right? But I think that's important, especially when we're having these type of conversations with both men and women, right? Like Sharice is feeling this conversation more so than she is hearing what is being said. Because, you know, again, to start this episode, I really tried to set the tone of this is not a blaming game, right? I'm not here to blame any particular part. I'm just here to talk about a particular aspect of the conversation more than another. But all she heard was, "Oh, we blaming women. It's the women's fault or whatever." And it's just it always you know, it's funny to me how that always works out. But you know, again, getting back on topic. So you know, this deflection culture like didn't start with us, right? It didn't start in 2025 or 2024 or 5 years ago. Like this started, you know, back in 4,000 years ago when Adam and Eve initiated this. Oh, it wasn't me, it was her, or it wasn't her, it was him. You know what I mean? So I think for us to gain true power, we need to start with leading ourselves or self leadership, right? Being able to control and hold ourselves accountable for our actions and for what we say and how we respond in different situations. And again, so I'm not speaking for just men. I mean, I'm not speaking about just women. I'm speaking about both men and women, but just this conversation is just focused a little more on women, right? And I think certain areas that women can own a little more, right? Is with time management, with emotional discipline, stewardships of their gifts, and in their relationships, right? And I'm not just talking about uh, relationships where we're talking about intimate relationships, right? I'm talking about casual friendships, business relationships, family relationships. I think the accountability should be self-driven. And I just think that we just live in a society where men are expected, again, to hold themselves accountable for their actions and the things that they do. And we don't tend to put that focus or those expectations on women. Whether that's right or wrong, I just think it's just a part of the society that we live in. And again, I think that the ability to self-govern and self-discipline ourselves when it comes to accountability, it can help us to just be better humans, right? I think when we're talking about relationships, just like how, you know, we tell both men and women, like, be the version of yourself that you want someone to connect with. And I think the same for women. Like you, we I remember there was this I guess it was a meme or a video that was going around where this lady was saying that she wouldn't date a man because he wanted to take her to like Cheesecake Factory or Red Lobster, or like she listed these particular type of restaurants, which was like, if you take me to any of these restaurants, like it's over after that. Like don't even bother calling me anymore. And then she said, but these restaurants are acceptable. And it was like, these high end restaurants where, dudes would have to shell out, a couple $100 for dinner or for a meal. Where like obviously one of the other restaurants, Cheesecake Factory, Red Lobster, it wouldn't be as expensive. And it's like, man, how are we getting to the point where there's an expectation of men to do these certain things in order to like court a woman, but there's like what is being reciprocated or what is being returned to that man, right? And I'm not talking about like sex or like any of that type of thing. I'm just saying, like, if your expectation is, hey, on the first date, if you're taking me out, you want to impress me, here's how you impress me. Like, how does that make sense? How does a man who may not even be able to afford that type of evening, right? But maybe a great man, has a great job, has great morals, has good ethics, and could be a good candidate for, a boyfriend and even a spouse. But you're crushing him because he isn't taking you to a restaurant that is deemed acceptable. Um, sure, go ahead.
Everyone gets to a point in their life where they have certain standards that they want to live up to or want to uphold. I'm not saying it's right what she did, but I can understand if you don't want to go to certain places. You don't want to go to certain
So,
places.
all right. So I agree with that, right?
Because
So this
ain't no
is
way I can take you to
Dirties.
dirty.
we
Not,
ain't
not
talking
even
we ain't
dirty.
talking about dirties.
No, we're not. Okay, if I say, if me and you are in a relationship,
Yep.
and I say, Charo, I'm going to book us into the Holiday Inn for our vacation. Red carpet, 7-Eleven. You ain't going
What it called?
because you have standards. You know where you want to go. You know where you want to sleep, and you don't mind paying for it. So you're not gonna allow anyone else
Who
to
pay it?
do. If I'm paying,
Okay.
and I say, babe, I'm taking you on a vacation. We're going to 7-Eleven, red carpet in. You gonna look at me like, no, baby, you ain't taking me to that
So
place.
okay, let's okay. I like the fact that you brought this up. So if I know that the only thing you can afford is the 7-Eleven red carpet,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like, I want to go out with you, I want to get to know you, I think that this can go somewhere. I'm not going to shut down going to 7-Eleven red
You
carpet.
ain't going to those
You
7-Eleven.
missing,
Stop
you still
lying.
you still missing the you still missing.
We know you. You ain't go. You what you will do is say, you know what? I understand your intentions. I'll take care of the hotel. That is what you will do.
Okay, and let's say that's the case, right?
Uh,
That's also a decision that can be made instead of saying, "Oh, I'm not going to date you because all you could afford is 7-Eleven red
okay, and
carpet."
I don't think that's wrong if that's where you are in your life. Maybe you have gone past the point of staying in a 7-Eleven, eating Cheesecake Factory. Maybe it doesn't agree with your belly.
Do you do okay? So let's
Me,
this.
I'm not the type of person.
I'm not. I'm no.
Okay.
So I'm talking. Let's go back to the restaurant example. Would you agree that the majority of the women who have this list of, hey, these are the restaurants that I'm going to versus these are the restaurants that I'm not going to,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it's fair to say that the restaurants that they would accept,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't normally go to themselves?
I can't say that.
I'm just saying that,
I mean,
would it be fair
it would be fair to say it, but I can't say that. I
agree,
can't
right?
definitively.
We can't give
say
any,
that.
yes, we can't give any definitive
Yeah.
answers on whether the restaurants that they're saying that they want to go to, they would go to themselves and, pay for the meal. But I think it would be fair to say that, like, we see the women who put these lists out and like how they carry themselves and the things that they say in different conversations. Like I think and I don't want to cast judgment. I don't want to seem like I'm casting judgment. I just don't like the fact that um we're like, okay, if I'm telling you I don't want to go to 7-Eleven, you said red carpet. I don't even know what hotel that is. That's a real hotel.
Yes.
7-Eleven red carpet.
Well, that's two different hotels.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I know about red carpet and I know about 7-Eleven. I just didn't. Okay. So if I know that I don't want or don't like those type of hotels, right? And I know myself that when I travel or when I go somewhere, I'm finding a hotel that I'm comfortable with and I'm cool with staying there. Then if you're offering to take me somewhere or pay for something that I don't like, I'm gonna have a conversation with you and be like, look, I don't like this. How about we do it this way and I'll take care of it or whatever. Like it isn't going to. I'm not. My point is, I'm not going to shut you down or put you on blast even, right? Or run to the internet and be like, yo, guess where Sharice tried to take me? She tried to take me to 7-Eleven red carpet. Like that's like why? No, shoes. I would have never done that. That wouldn't have been even that wouldn't have been a thought for me, right? The point is, I don't think it's fair that women have these expectations of what men are supposed to do, but they don't bring anything to, like, what are you bringing to the table? Like, are you offering to pay them? Are you offering to go Dutch? Are you you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of these demands and expectations. Yeah, but like you just expect to come and be like, oh, I'm the catch, right? You're trying to court me, so and this is the level of courting that I want to take place. If the man can't afford it, and you're causing this man now to put himself in debt to do that, and you know this, you may have an idea that, okay, I know he can't afford this, but this is what I want.
Well,
I don't.
I was speaking more to the point of, I guess, dating on your level. If you are if you're dating someone on your level and this is what you want, then that person would be able to supply that.
Define level.
Like if you're someone who wants to go to,
not wants to, can you go there yourself?
I don't know.
Dating on your level is, I can afford this, so I want you to be able to afford this.
So we don't know what her level was. We don't.
Okay.
So my thing is, I would say if you are able to date someone and you want them to be on your level, that's a discussion to have before your first date. Like before even wasting your time.
But this is the first date.
I say before the first date.
But this is the first date. What conversation are you? The only conversation you're having before the first date is, hey, how you doing? Let me take you out on a date.
No, but then you're gonna be like, oh, here's a list of places I want to go.
So you tell it. So you.
No, you're gonna have you're having a discussion. You're not just jumping into a date cold turkey.
So you're fine with, I come to you and say, hey, I want to take you out on a date, and then you giving me a list. Say these are the only acceptable places.
No, I'm not gonna say these are the only acceptable places, but I'm saying there are certain places that I wouldn't go because I don't like the food. There are certain places I won't go because I don't want to go there. So we're gonna have a discussion.
You don't like the food from like
exactly
75%.
Exactly, which is why we're gonna have that conversation.
But my point is, so a restaurant like Red Lobster, Cheesecake Factory,
I love Cheesecake
Chili's. Like, do you see a problem with those being first date restaurants?
I don't.
I think a larger part of society doesn't see a problem with those being first date restaurants.
No.
Now I can see if you say like Dirty is Olive Garden too. Olive Garden is fine. We're wrong, Olive Garden. Why everyone is hate on Olive Garden? What Olive Garden do to y'all? Like all of these are okay restaurants. Like we're not talking about like, and no hate against McDonald's, right? But we ain't talking about like first date to McDonald's. We ain't talking about like, first date to, I ain't calling no names, right? But these fast food restaurants that you just go and get a quick meal.
I don't even see nothing wrong with that, to be honest.
It's like let's go for lunch.
Yeah.
What?
Not like a dating restaurant.
Yeah.
Why not? So we can.
Lunch.
Or like, okay, yeah, fast food.
Yeah.
But what restaurant though? What if the restaurant I can only afford is, give me a restaurant you guys wouldn't think like here, not in the Bahamas. No, that's not. Never mind. I try to put it on a blast.
You're like,
but I just like I like what And the
That's
restaurant,
a U.S. restaurant.
but the restaurants like the restaurants that were on the list as go-to restaurants was like
They were nice.
they were too nice.
I like Cheesecake Factory.
There wasn't Cheesecake Factory was on the list. I'm talking about the list that was acceptable.
Oh, I don't know.
It was like STK. It was Prime Steak. It was Prime 112 or whatever it's called. You know, all these like higher end, a little more on the expensive side of a restaurant.
Okay, let's flip it. So okay, women, you're saying some women, not all women, have their preferences. Just say their preferences.
Yep.
But also men also have their preferences because just say if you ask me to fly out to Miami, right? We're going to have a day, we're going to spend a weekend together. Your automatic assumption is that person is going to be intimate with you. Why?
Because that's
Oh.
the society that we live in.
Okay, but isn't that the same thing as her saying, I don't want to go having preferences, or like you don't think that's that's in a similar type of situation?
I think you're reaching.
No, I'm asking.
I think you're reaching.
Why?
Because I think
Why can't we just have? Why can't I think that we're just gonna have a nice weekend and go home? Why I have to give you something? Why it has to be transactional?
I mean, I don't agree in taking a trip to even put yourself in that situation.
I agree.
Right? I think from a societal standpoint, if you say yes, I go in on this weekend trip with you where it's just me and you, we stayed together, like, you know, just from a logical standpoint, I think the expectation is like that's what the man wants, or that's what he hopes to get or expects to get. Why would you even put yourself in that situation if you know that that's not what it's about?
Okay, but what if she doesn't think that's what it's about? No, seriously, what is okay, what if you got me my own room?
Being on the trip.
Now you're saying, but if we have an understanding, saying, hey, I get in your room, I have in my room, but we just want to do a trip together, then obviously signs pointing to okay, there's going to be no intimacy on the trip. But if the guy is saying, yo, be in one room, stay in bed, like you going on a trip thinking, oh yeah, not just being facetious though.
No, I'm not, because a lot of women have found themselves in situations like that. I can't give any examples, but like that it has happened. The man is like, find your way home.
And this is why I want to have this accountability conversation, right? Because a woman who, you know, is going on a trip with a man to, you know, a different city, country, whatever, he's footing the bill. And, you know, this is just from a societal perspective, right? He's footing the bill. And her thing is, oh, I don't expect, or this guy shouldn't expect anything from me, right? When that conversation wasn't had, right, there were no grounds laid or no boundaries set prior to going, just so that everyone is on the same page prior to the trip, right? And then when the guy expects something, all of a sudden she's shocked and she's like, oh my goodness, like, no, why would you even think this? And it's like, come on, the world that we live in now, like these are the type of conversations that should be had, that need to be had, and not thinking that the conversation is necessary. I think is a level of accountability that women just aren't taking.
What
on.
about men? Why do you feel the need to be intimate with someone just because you buy them a plane ticket?
That's the society that we live in. I think.
Okay, but don't say that's the society.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Okay. What I am saying is,
so men need to be accountable for that as well.
Just as the men need to have, I'm saying
everyone needs to be accountable.
Both men and women need to have a conversation and say, look, we going on this trip. Here are the expectations. Here are the ground rules. Here are the boundaries, and you set those, right? But if the conversation isn't not had, what do you think the expectation is going to be?
Okay, so stick a pin in it.
Go ahead.
The woman say she don't want to go to these restaurants. She set her boundaries. So why are you mad at her?
Okay.
No, I'm being serious. Like, it doesn't matter if it's her level or not. This is what she wants.
you know what's crazy? You don't even agree.
I don't agree,
with
but
what
what I'm
this-
saying is I agree with her decision to make that's what she wants. I it ain't for me, but I'm not gonna be like,
Once again,
you know,
this is the type of accountability that I'm talking about,
I
right?
I am the leader of
Because
the woman them now. Running it out.
this this is the level of accountability I'm talking about, because me and my wife have these conversations offline, and her stance, like the conversation we have, is entirely different from the
No,
conversation she
Jaro,
having.
because I can respect. I can.
I'm not
take
saying
my
we can't
personal-
respect this
No, I
lady's
can take
choices,
like my personal opinion out of it,
right?
and give a unbiased opinion. Now,
I don't
what
think you could be unbiased.
yes, I do think so, because I don't agree with you, but I understand and I respect your decision. I ain't gonna do it, but if you do it, okay. People are not gonna respect my decision on the things I want for my life, but if that's what I want, that's what I want.
I want to introduce you to the Monroe Global app, the ultimate platform to empower your leadership journey and inspire your purpose-filled life. Access timeless teachings designed to help you grow in every area of your life. From leadership development to personal growth, Monroe Global has it all at your fingertips. With the Monroe Global app, you'll have exclusive access to powerful videos and messages from the legendary Dr. Myles Monroe, a digital library packed with life-changing content right at your fingertips, and a vibrant global community of visionaries, leaders, and change makers just like you. Whether you're at home, on the go, or in the office, the Monroe Global app ensures you never miss an opportunity to learn, grow, and lead. Available now on Google Play and the Apple App Store, the Monroe Global app is your gateway to unlocking your potential and impacting your world. Download the Monroe Global app today and take the first steps toward living the life you were born to lead. I don't know how far this conversation is getting, but it's a conversation nonetheless. I don't even think I had an idea of like coming to any summit or any climax of this conversation. But I think these are the type of conversations that I want to bring to the point, right? This I think in a healthy way, right? Again, not putting any blame on anyone, but acknowledging the fact that just as men can do better, women can do better as well. I think that's the point of the conversation.
Yes.
Agree?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that I don't want to make this about me and you? So that's just I'll
Go.
I brought up a scenario example of like how we deal with deflection in our relationship, and I tell you all the time, like, stop holding my hand,
Then I won't.
and you won't stop.
No.
Why?
Because I'm going to show you how you do it as well.
But even if the situation that we're discussing at the time has entirely to do with you, you can't just say, you know what, you're right, my bad, I accept.
No, don't say I don't do that sometimes.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
You hold my hand
You-
just about
Yeah,
every
because
time.
when it happens to you, you just be like, all right then. And I'd be like, apologize. You just be like, apologize.
Y'all see why we can't get nowhere in our conversation. I hope when you watch this back, you hear like the merry-go-round me and you's be having with our conversation.
And it's a good ride.
Oh, accountability. It's a great thing. Owning your story, owning your choices and your mistakes, your story in general, I think is a level of, it gives a level of freedom that that you can't get, if you continue to deny or continue to deflect. It reminds me of the popular scene in the movie 8 Mile, right? So it's a movie starring Eminem, the rapper. He was going through this final battle with this rap battle with this guy, and he decided to own all of his flaws, right? So what he did was he flipped what normally happens in a rap battle where someone talks about you and disses you because of the flaws that you have. He just called out his flaws in his verse, right? And he named all the things that this guy could have mentioned and made light of it, and took ownership of it. And what it did was it it unarmed his opponent. and he didn't have anything else to say. Like, man, you said everything I was gonna come with in this rhyme. Like, I'm at a loss for words now. And I mean, I'm not only uh, unarmed his opponent, but he won the crowd over with that gesture as well. And it's all about like just taking ownership of who you are, right? So that no one else could use that against you, use that as ammunition or anything to like try to harm you or discredit you on any level, right? So stop waiting for someone else to fix you, right? It's time for us to own ourselves. And you know, the blame needs the buck stops with us, right? When we're talking about blaming, I think it's on us to say, you know what, this is my fault. I apologize. Like I remember when I got to a point where I was able to just come out and apologize, and that's difficult, right? Even in my wife and I's relationship, like knowing I'm wrong and then owning up to it, like that takes a lot of not just courage, but it takes a lot of like swallowing your pride and being vulnerable in those situations, being like, okay, look, this don't make no sense. Like you were right, I was wrong. I apologize, and you know we have gotten to a point where both she and I can do that. It may take some time, right? It may not be like immediate, but eventually it'll be like, okay, we'll be arguing or we'll be disagreeing about. Like let's agree to hug it out and get past this, and like that's where we've gotten. So a certain level of accountability has entered our relationship, which makes us a bit more free, right? Free to communicate, free to be vulnerable to each other, because we know that we both have each other's best interests at hand. And I think that's what ownership does, like owning ourselves, owning our stories, because it's not about being perfect. It's just about being intentional about our growth, being intentional about trying to be the better versions of ourselves that we want to be tomorrow, right? Just consistent growth, man. God can't bless who we pretend to be, right? God blesses what we accept and what we change about ourselves, or what we want to change about ourselves, and He helps us to make that change. Um, so hopefully, I mean, this is a very spirited conversation. Uh, uh, Honestly, these are the type of conversations Sharice and I have offline quite a bit. Um, she isn't as combative as she was today, but I think it's she knows that it makes for a great conversation, especially on the board. And she's a little biased, which I think is fine. It's okay.
I'm keeping you honest.
It's okay. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. So hopefully, you know, that conversation or this conversation was informative, or at least thought provoking. That's what I want it to be, right?
For
So I want
Father's Day, I'm taking you to Red Roof
to.
Inn.
That's fine. Why y'all dissing these hotels? Y'all calling these hotels name? Stop calling these people name. Anyway, that brings me to the part of the poem where I want to leave with you a milestone. The milestone for today is this, and this is directed towards women in particular. You are not just a daughter of the king, you are a manager of the life he gave you. So hold yourself accountable. Heaven is watching how you handle what you've been given. And again, this applies to both men and women, right? But I just wanted to, you know, just just make a uh, just an ode to women today. Like I think that again, self-discipline, self-governance is something that is important, and it's vital to us growing and being free in who we are, who we're supposed to be. So I'm just encouraging you to, just accept that, hold yourself accountable first. And I think accountability will be reciprocated in other areas of our lives. All right. So that brings us to the end of this pod. Babe, thanks for a spirited conversation.
Yep.
Looking to have more of these as we move forward. All right. As always, the vision of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist, always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right, until next time, you guys stay blessed.